Okay, guys, welcome to Wednesday for Algebra 1. I hope that this went smoothly for you. Let me get it to where you can see. Now go ahead and pause or screenshot or whatever you need to do so that you can check over these and make sure you were doing everything right before you move on to the next lesson. Okay. Go ahead and copy up this problem for practice. And we're going to do the same thing that we were doing before. We're going to solve systems of equations by elimination. And there's just one little extra step we're going to add. And if you look, we're looking for something to eliminate it. I don't see anything right off the bat that I can eliminate. But I see that I've got a 2y here and just a y. If I could make that a 2y, then I know I could cancel those out. Or if I could make that a 6x. So in order to make this into a 2y, I'm going to go for trying to get the y's to cancel out. So in order to make that into a 2y, I've got to multiply it times 2. And I can't just multiply the y times 2. I'm going to have to multiply the whole thing times 2. Okay, so I'm going to put parentheses around it and put a 2 outside of it because I'm going to multiply the whole thing times 2. Now I'm going to rewrite it. I'm going to rewrite it right here. So I've got 6x plus 2y equals 4 because I multiplied everything in that equation by 2 in order to keep it equivalent, in order to keep it the same equation. Now I'm going to rewrite this one. I'm not doing anything to this one. I'm not changing that one. So I'm just going to rewrite it as it is, but I'm going to rewrite it directly below. I'm going to keep my x's lined up and my y's lined up. And what you're going to notice, is that you've got two equations that are exactly the same. So that should tell you something. And then what else you can notice is in order to get these to cancel out, if we want to start working it, I would need to subtract. And what's going to happen is I'm going to cancel out my x's, I'm going to cancel out my y's, and then my 4's are also going to cancel out. I would basically, what I'm being left with is 0 equals 0 because I had two of the exact same equations. And what that tells you is that this would have infinitely many solutions because anything you put in for x and y is going to make both of them true. Okay, so infinite solutions would be your answer to that one. Okay, let's pause. Okay, go ahead and write down your next example problem. And if you start looking at this, remember we're trying to get something to cancel out. And what sticks out to me is I know that if I could change this 4 into an 8, that I would be able to get the y's to cancel out. And I can do that by multiplying times 2. So what I want to do to this first equation is just multiply everything times 2 because I'm trying to make that an 8y so that I can get them to cancel out. I'm going to draw a line here so I'm going to start rewriting things over here. So if I'm multiplying the first equation times 2, I've got 6x plus 8y equals 12. And then I'm just going to rewrite the other one because I didn't do anything to it. So I'm just going to rewrite it, making sure I keep everything stacked on top of everything else. Okay, now I see that I've got these 8y's that I can cancel out. Okay, and I have to ask myself, do what I need to add them or what I need to subtract them? And I need to subtract to get those to cancel out. So I'm going to have to subtract everything. Okay, so 8y minus 8y does what I wanted. I can eliminate it. And then I've got 6x minus 7x, which would just leave me with negative 1x. Okay, and then 12 minus 10 would leave me with 2. Now I've got a negative x here, so I'm going to have to switch the sign because I'm dividing by a negative 1. So I've got x equals negative 2. Now I'm just going to pick one of my equations and put a negative 2 in for x. So let me pick this one since it's just sitting right here. So 7 times negative 2 plus 8y equals 10. So negative 14 plus 8y equals 10. I've got to remove this negative 14 by adding it. So I end up with 8y equals 24, and when I divide by 8, I get y equals 3. I'll move out of the way so you can pause that, rewind it, whatever you need to do. But now I've got an x and I've got a y that I can write as an ordered pair for my solution. There you go. I'm going to pause you. Maybe. Okay, here's your last example problem. Go ahead and write it down. And remember, I'm looking for something that I could cancel out. I'm looking for something to eliminate. And I see the x and the y, neither one has a coefficient, so I could do either one of those pretty easily. I'm just going to choose the x because it's the first one. And in order to make this x a 5x so that it would cancel out, I'm going to have to multiply times 5. So I've got to multiply the whole equation times 5. Okay, and I draw a line here so I can rewrite over here. So I'm multiplying everything in that first equation by 5. So I've got 5x plus 5y equals negative 15. Okay, now I'm going to rewrite the second one just right below it. I've not done anything to it, so I'm keeping it the same. So 5x minus 2y equals negative 50. Okay, now I've got to decide. I've got 5x and 5x, so I know that I can cancel those out. Do I have to add or subtract? I have to subtract those, so I'm going to go ahead and put a negative sign, a subtraction sign between all of them, because if I'm subtracting one, I'm subtracting all. So 5x minus 5x does what I want it to do. It eliminates, it cancels out. Now, we've talked about this before, but just in case you forgot, if you see right here, if you read this from top to bottom, you've got 5y minus negative 2y. So you have these negative signs right side by side each other, which means that it's going to change the operation to addition. Okay, remember I draw a line through that just to help me remember that I've changed those two negative signs to a positive, and so I'm going to add. So I've actually got 5y plus 2y, so I've got 7y. And then same thing happens here. Negative 15 minus negative 50. So I've got to change this operation to addition. So I've got negative 15 plus 50, which is going to leave me with what, 35? Okay. Then I divide by 7 and get y equals 5. Okay. Now, I'm just going to go back and use this one because it's easier to line up my work. But I need to put a 5 in for y, back into one of the original equations. So I'm going to put a 5 in for this one for y. So I've got 5x minus 2y, which is 5, equals negative 50. So 5x minus 10 equals negative 50. And I need to add this 10 on to get it to cancel out. So I have 5x equals negative 40. And then when I divide by 5, I get x equals negative 8. And I'll move out of your way so you can make sure you have that all written down right. If you need to pause or whatever, go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to give you your practice problems for to have turned in. This is Wednesday's video, so you'll have these turned in by Thursday night, and then Friday morning you'll get one more video for the week. Okay, I've got 6 problems for you, 6 just like what we just did. There's the first 3. Okay, and then here are the second 3. I tried to use a darker pen this week so that it would be easier to see. Okay, I will see you back on Friday. Just send me your work for these 6 problems if you want to get credit. Bye guys, I miss you.